Jordan, what is going on with Assassin's Creed
Wait,
Infinity? What is this?
wait, Assassin's Creed what?
No.
Okay.
Infinity's
No.
nuts!
Yeah.
You know the vibes. All right, continue, Jordan.
Back to back, these nuts jokes. Let's go.
No one knows what the happening with Assassin's Creed right now. But it, right before Ubisoft made the official announcement, Jason Schreier came out with a report being like, hey, Ubi's going in changing direction with Assassin's Creed again. They've gone from open world adventure to RPG, and now they're going from RPG to live service something. And it's gonna take place on the same platform, but like just multiple settings. And it's just gonna evolve, like taking inspiration from games like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto Online. And then Ubisoft, like I want to say, like an hour and a half after that, it was pretty quick. Released the official announcement, like, yeah, we are actually doing that. It's gonna be a cross studio thing between Montreal and Quebec. We still have the super problematic men in high positions still in those high positions working on this, but we're hoping that you overlook that and get excited at the possibility of Assassin's Creed becoming so stupidly large that it just lasts ever. Oh my god, this is so stupid.
The thing is, like, I said something similar on Twitter where I was like, I was hoping they'd get smaller, because I'm very much in the same camp as many of you are, especially Jordan. Like, I want smaller, tighter, more detailed, more controlled narrative tales, and they are going the opposite direction. And I had a few people like kind of replying, some people being Twitter people being like, shut up, no one cares what you think, but other people being like, they kind of pointed out that, they're kind of mentioning that they have the capacity to make those smaller tales within this larger framework.
Yeah,
and that I really want to get behind the idea of that. The problem that I foresee, or the one that I can't get past, is modern game design requires requires developers to like author and construct these pathways that take you to every corner of this massive world. Otherwise, it's pointless having a massive world. And the way they do that is they create these breadcrumbs that are constantly moving you from one thing to the other and pulling you in multiple different directions so that it never feels like you're done. That's how these games as a service games work, right? You never feel like, I'm done. This is it. I've got a short tail. I experienced a complete narrative. It's always something. It's always something happening. And so that's my main worry about it. Sure, they might be able to tell these tales, smaller tales, but will they be able to resist the temptation of always funneling you into another thing or wasting your time with menial tasks that ultimately have no bearing on what you're actually doing from a narrative perspective? That's my main worry.
Yeah. I have two minds of this. I have no basis for my beliefs, theories as to what Ubisoft is going to do. But I'm like, either A, they do something like what they were teasing at the beginning of Assassin's Creed Unity, where you like logged in and you saw like a bunch of different experiences to click from, and it's like, oh, this is a portal. You boot up Assassin's Creed Infinity, and it starts with like one default campaign, or maybe it's free to play, and then like each campaign is like $20 here for like this experience, and maybe $40 here for this much longer one, and etc., etc., etc. Or if they are leaning more in towards what something like Fortnite, what Grand Theft Auto Online does, it's a giant like open world modern day Assassin's Creed, where occasionally over time the world is evolving, and at the same time you have like an animus you can visit that you can use to do a bunch of single player content in the past, but like in the present day, it's like this open world multiplayer experience where you can participate in different activities, whether people like bring back the multiplayer from Brotherhood and 3, bring back the Siege things from Unity, stuff like that. And I could see it going either way. I could see it doing something completely different.
Dude, if they
but,
bring
like,
back the Brotherhood multiplayer, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I feel like that's exactly what they have to do, because they talk about how it's going to have multiple settings, and there's no cohesive way to make that work in a kind of like seamless open world, right? Like you have to.
mhm.
I feel like it's going to be very much that case of like the main world is an Abstergo like facility in a modern day where you are a bunch of subjects and then you can pick, and it's kind of like you drop in with all your friends and be like, all right, let's go to, I don't know, Italy. And then you all jump into the Animus together and it'll take you all to, I don't know, AC Brotherhood's multiplayer mode, or a curated experience that is a unique Assassin's Creed 2 setting, or, Black Flag setting, etc., etc. I would struggle to see how they make a larger experience that has multiple settings cohesive outside of, hey, there's a portal here, jump through it, assassins, and then you come out on the other side and it's like, oh, you're in another part of the world now.
Cowards will refuse to make a single player game starring a woman in Assassin's Creed. They just won't do it. They just won't do it.
Something I found interesting about the Ubisoft statement specifically is that when they were talking about it, they were talking about it less from the perspective of like what the game is going to play like as a consumer, and more about what that means from like actually developing it. Specifically, they were saying how like they had this like new cross-studio collaboration structure, and like they said, like I'm going to read what they said here. Quote, rather than continuing to pass the baton from game to game, we profoundly believe this is an opportunity for one of Ubisoft's most beloved franchises to evolve in a more integrated and collaborative manner that's less centered on studios and more focused on talent and leadership, no matter where they are within Ubisoft. So it kind of sounds like this is almost like a back-end thing of like, we can build this system that allows it to be easier for different teams of Ubisoft across the world to like build their own Assassin's Creed game or story and like have it easily be integrated, rather than like having like, a bunch of different teams like building multiple Assassin's Creed games at a time, and they got to kind of
it sounds like
to
what
each
Activision's
other
doing with Call of Duty
exactly,
for the
because
past
like
few
Activision
years.
ran into that problem where you had like Infinite Warfare and Black Ops, and they tried to fuse them together and it like totally didn't work because those games are built on like different engines, and it was kind of a mess. And I think Ubisoft's like, we can avoid that by like building this system from the ground up to support this.
Yeah, like if you think about how a lot of when Ubisoft were with Assassin's Creed, how it gets like handed off from studio to studio, it's like a lot of stop and go in terms of like, this studio is going to make Odyssey, this studio is going to make Origins. Obviously they have had collaboration. When I was like talking to developers about Odyssey, they're like, yeah, this has been long in development because we work alongside the Origins team to make sure that these games are like congruous. They're not like just like these completely separate experiences that don't make sense when you connect them together. So I think this is more of like a framework for them to kind of communicate how they're approaching Assassin's Creed. But if it feels more continuous, I also think that, I mean, I can't speak for y'all, but Assassin's Creed base games are long as shit, and I never almost finished them recently.
I know.
But they come out with really good DLC, or they have like their DLCs are chunky and are like oftentimes
They're another
like, pretty,
games.
Yeah, they're like whole other games, but like no one, like I imagine that fewer people play those because they're like, yo, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not like, what is this DLC? I'm gonna buy it for a game that I already bought. Because now the expectation is to have, like, if DLC is packaged with the game that you already bought or something, or it's an update to something that you subscribe to, or something like that. And so I think that this framing will help the add-on content to kind of like string you along to the next Assassin's Creed game. Like Fate of Atlantis, like what was that? Like, oh, that was actually pretty fire. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't get to it, but if it like
a 30-hour DLC.
Yeah, and then but like I didn't touch it. But if I boot up Assassin's Creed, like, oh snap, like this, I don't know. I feel like it's just a lot more seamless as a player, and I imagine this can also help them be a lot more, I think, more efficient when it comes to like making these games.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think I wish they would sit down and really unpack the the knock-on effect of having the games be this large. Because for me, I think one of the biggest issues I have is like, because they're this large, I do not give a shit about the main characters. I'm incapable of caring about those characters because one, the idea of playing a 70-hour game where a significant portion of that game is you running boring errands and doing like random side shit, it doesn't endear me to a character. It makes every character in Assassin's Creed, modern Assassin's Creed, even like Bayek is like, you aren't really an assassin, you're an errand. You're an errand boy, errand girl. You're Bayek was specifically a cop. But like even like Cassandra, I was like, I want to care about you, but you keep running off and doing this boring shit for a really long time, and I just cannot. Like the last character in Assassin's Creed that I really cared about was probably, I don't know, Edward Kenway. Like I was into him, but like
you didn't like Jacob and Evie and Syndicate.
No, not really, because there was two of them, and I didn't really like the back and forth between them. Like, I want to go back and give Syndicate another go. Honestly, I kind of bounced off them. I found them quite annoying, but I think I was in a very irritated phase of my life as well there, where I was just annoyed by everything. But like, I wish I could care about a character the way that I did care about like Altair and
or even like
Ezio.
The modern day stuff. Like, I don't know what the heck was going on with all that. And it's like, it's the same problem where it's even more so because you're like, okay, you introduced the modern character and then you play 40 hours of Odyssey and then you cut back to the main character and I'm like, I don't even remember their name or what they were doing or what's going on. Like, so if they could like,
is it
couch that?
Layla?
Yeah, it's Layla
Hassan. Yeah. And like
I'll say
that's what I'm
interesting good thing about Valhalla is the fact, despite its campaign being like 70 hours, and to get like the true ending, you have to spend like another 20 on top of that for like a 90-100 hour experience, is the fact that it like references every single mainline game that came before it, and it just wraps up all of those storylines. So Altair, Ezio, Connor, Edward, Arno, Jacob, Evie, just all of Bayek, Cassandra, and basically it's like, all right, put a lid on it. It's done. We've wrapped everything up. We even touch on Desmond a little bit, and we kind of complete that. We are now basically at fresh slate. We can go somewhere new from
that actually kind of makes me a little excited then.
Yeah, that is exciting, but like that exciting is immediately dulled by knowing that the next step isn't a like really smart reset where they curate and finally craft a new character and world. It's this platform that they've created where anyone can be an assassin and you can go anywhere and do anything. It's like, no, I was hoping you'd use this opportunity to be like, yo, we've got an Assassin's Creed 2. Like we've got to come up with a brand new assassin. We've focused it down. You're gonna love this character. It's gonna be really cool. It's not that. Like they're like, all right, we're making Fortnite or we're making GTA Online. I'm like, I don't really care about that. Like I don't. I want. I will say like because.
Yeah, Jason Schreier's report and the official Ubisoft press release doesn't mention this, but Schreier's report mentions that like the soonest we're getting this game is 2024, so 3 years from now, and so there's a possibility that we get some sort of Assassin's Creed experience between now and this. I'm keeping like fingers crossed for a super like modern day remake of Assassin's Creed 1. But like it'll be interesting to see like do we get any Assassin's Creed between now and Infinity, or is Infinity just like what happens after Valhalla and we just take a break from Assassin's Creed for like 3 or 4 years?
There's also no guarantee that this Infinity project actually makes it to release. Like they've been very upfront in that they're talking about it like this is something we're experimenting with and we're figuring out. Whether it happens or not isn't a dead certainty. They might get a ways into development and think this is not working, and then we get something else instead. It seems like the plan is to work on that while working on Valhalla DLC, and maybe if we're lucky, we'll get another game in between. I don't know. Like, I would love to see
AC1
a good
remake. Come on,
AC1. I mean,
in the same style of RE2 and RE3 remake, like just completely like upend with a new engine and everything.
bring back. I mean, like they did a bit of that with Revelations, right, where you could go back and play some of the Altair stuff. But like, I want them to make the Assassin's Creed they sold us in the original Assassin's Creed trailer from E3. Like that trailer still is one of the best.
Yeah, trailer's
and
hot.
that game, the game that came out, absolutely did not make good on anything that happens in
I
that
don't think
trailer.
the technology was there yet. But the technology's there now.
It's there now. You can make it. Make your Assassin's Creed one Hitman game, and let's go.
God, that'd be so cool.
It turns out that the next Assassin's Creed is a modern, almost futuristic game, and it stars a new assassin named Samuel Fisher,
Yeah, let's fucking go.
and it's a
I
Splinter
would.
Cell game.
Yeah,
Hell
I would.
yeah.
I mean, like, I would love that. I have been thinking a lot about Splinter Cell. Like, I want. If you want
one
more
of
Splinter
the-
Cell chat, go to the
I mean,
Nuclear
isn't a
Fridge
modern day
podcast.
Assassin's Creed
Wow.
just a Splinter Cell game? So that would just be
No,
Splinter Cell.
no.
No.
Like, it's kind of
Relax, my
similar
guy.
in the
No,
same type
relax,
of mechanics that they would
No,
use.
no, no, no,
I
no,
mean,
no, no, no,
Clint
no.
Hawking is one of the lead creative directors, so
Yeah,
we're definitely not getting an actual Splinter Cell for a while, probably, if ever. Rip, but you know,
It's going to come in as a live service game.
I
So Ubisoft wants to do to all their franchises.
I was thinking about this earlier. And there is a way to make a Splinter Cell live service game that works. But I was thinking about this earlier. But I really miss like AAA or even AA stealth games. There's just none of them around right now that I care about. Like, there's no Metal Gear. There's no Splinter Cell. There's no Thief. There's no
I feel like the last one was
Dishonored.
what was that game? It was by like ex Hitman devs. Rob Hanlery like loved it.
Echo.
I feel like Echo was like the last game that game's very different, obviously, but it was the last game that was like trying to be like a proper
I'm sure there's an indie dev.
stealth game that I can think of.
Yeah, but like I know there are a bunch of indie stealth games, but like very few of them have like a charismatic central character, the way that we have like Snake or Sam or Emily or Corvo, that kind of. That's what I yearn for. Another one of those, and like, get it together, games industry. Give us a good stealth game again. Anyway, let's move on to listener questions.